縛り付ける重たい定めの石にまるで押しつぶされて
Hi everybody, this is Kevin and welcome back to another anime review. And today I'm going to be continuing my JoJo's Bizarre Adventure review series. Now moving on to part 5, Golden Wind, which is 39 episodes split into 2 Blu-rays. So today we're going to cover the first 20 episodes, and then next week the remaining few episodes. And my goodness, this character design is so JoJo's. And it's very spoilery because this is the big villain. So spoiler warning, because this is my spoiler review discussion, and for me to talk about certain things, especially the new protagonists, I gotta have the disclaimer. So I apologize for showing the main villain so early, but it is what it is. And the cool thing about the main villain in part 5, he's kind of similar to Yoshikage Kira in part 4, in that he's scheming in the shadows in the first half, and then he doesn't appear until episode 20, and then, you know, you see him more in the next Blu-ray toward the end, and I like how the villain sort of stays away, and we fight his henchmen, and then, you know, the big villain at the end. So, similar to Yoshikage Kira. Although Kira was the better villain, but that's another story. So, changing parts, we once again change protagonists to the honorary JoJo, as I like to call him, and that is Giorno Giovanno. And I say honorary JoJo because he is the bastard son of Dio Brando. So, he's technically got the Joestar blood in him, and that's because at the end of part 1, when Dio stole Jonathan Joestar's body, you know, fast forward to part 3, Dio's in Egypt fooling around with some Italian woman, and then out came Giorno. So, he's Dio's son, but because Dio had Jonathan Joestar's body, and technically Jonathan Joestar's blood, he's a Joestar. But he's not really. So it's kind of convoluted. And this is the part where things sort of go off the rails. I do like part 5, but it's pretty crazy, man. It really is. So that's the story behind Giorno. A cool character. And I do like in the beginning how you see Jotaro and Koichi, and Jotaro sends Koichi to Italy to find Giorno and basically kill him because he's the offspring of Dio. And Dio bad, so Giorno bad. But then Koichi figures out that Giorno's actually a good guy, and he lets him, you know, live, and he's the honorary JoJo. And you get like a C where it shows all the other JoJos, and Giorno there looks kind of out of place, because at least the others are connected in some familial tie, whereas, look at this dude, he's got blonde hair too, they all have brown hair, and look at this guy's hairdo too, what the fuck. But anyway, let's get to some of the voice actors real quick. So Giorno is voiced by Philip Reich, who also voiced a character in part 4, kind of a lesser character. His name was Yu, and he had the stand Highway Star, and he fought Josuke and Rohan, and then became a good guy. And there's this funny scene where he's in the hospital, and he has this harem of these 3 hot babes around him. So I thought it was cool they got the same, well, you know, voice actor from part 4 to voice another character, and the main JoJo at that, because Jolene in part 6 is voiced by Kira Buckland, who also voiced Raimi in part 4. So, you know, I like that they reuse certain voice actors, but they use them in different ways, and you wouldn't even be able to tell if I didn't tell you, right? At least I didn't. I had to look all this stuff up. But anyway, then we have Bruno Bucciarati, who's voiced by Ray Chase. Ray Chase is great. He's probably most famous as Noctis in Final Fantasy 15. But he was Alphen in Tales Are Rise, Weiss in Eden Zero, lots of video games and anime, so you've heard him before too. Good job as Bucciarati, who's, you know, the main secondary character. Mick Lauer voices Abacchio, Sean Chiplock, Guido Mista, Kyle McHarley as Narancia, Ezra Weiss as Fugo, and then Lizzie Freeman as Trish. And these are like the main characters. I'll see who else I can mention now, because some of them don't appear until later on. Yeah, I'm not even going to mention the main villain, because you see him in episode 20, but he doesn't really appear until the next Blu-ray. So you have the boss's henchmen, and they're all named after like Italian food. Like we have prosciutto, sorbet, Melone, pesce, gelato, risotto, fromagere. You know, they all have the Italian names. And some of the stand names too. We're getting into more of the mainstream modern rock, I guess. We have Metallica. I say modern rock, and then we have other ones. Beach Boy, the White Album. Isn't the White Album from the Beatles? The Grateful Dead, Man in the Mirror, Little Feat. So we got the classic stand names. That's all good. Of course, Zach Aguilar returns as Koichi. Matthew Mercer returns as Jotaro. David Vincent returns as the narrator. And you got all that good stuff. So yeah, I should mention the main character stand. So Giorno's stand is called the Golden Experience, although Golden Win, because we know with the dub they changed the names. Bucciarati's stand name is called Sticky Fingers. After the Rolling Stones. Is it a song or an album for Rolling Stones? And here is called Zipper Man. Abacchio, Moody Blues. I think it's called Moody Jazz. Mista, the Sex Pistols turned to 6 Bullets. Narancia, Aerosmith. In the English dub it's called The Little Bomber. Fugo, Purple Haze is Purple Smoke. And then Trish, I don't think, do we even see her? No, I don't think we see her stand until the other Blu-ray. So I won't reveal Trish's stand quite yet because we don't see that. But anyway, so the main synopsis of Part 5 is Giorno Giovanna wants to join the mafioso. And the story takes place in Italy, if you couldn't already tell. And there's these rival gangs. And, you know, Giorno eventually encounters Bucciarati. And they take out the one boss, the one... you know, not the head boss, but one of the lower ranking men who's named Polpo. And then Bucciarati moves up the ladder, so he becomes the next in line for the mafioso. And they end up getting a job to bring Trish, who is the boss's daughter, to the boss. But it turns out that the boss wants to kill his own daughter. And so Bucciarati and the boys are like, no, we've been traveling with this woman for... you know, days and weeks. Who knows how long it took, really. So we're not just going to hand her over to die, so we're going to protect her. And then they start an all-out war against the boss. And it sort of has the episodic feel in that there's either 1 or 2 parters when they go up against the henchmen and encounter the stands. And lots of crazy battles, like with Mista, with 6 bullets. He's probably got my favorite stand in the whole group. He has this revolver with 6 bullets, and as he fires them, the stand attaches themselves to the bullets, and it's like, hey, Mista, with a really high voice. And Mista takes the most damage out of any of the guys. He's getting shot, he's getting beaten, and he's getting back up. Complete badass. And one of the things where it gets a little repetitive, I suppose, is Golden Win is very similar to Shining Diamond, the stand that Josuke had, in that he can heal things and sort of transform them. Like, it's not necessarily healing because the characters suffer bodily injuries, but he can, like, transform them and turn an object, like turn the Blu-ray into a new heart. You know, he can do stuff like that. Because the way they take out Polpo, where he's like the mafioso boss, but he's in a jail cell, he's sitting there eating, and he grabs like a banana and starts eating it, but Giorno turns it into a gun with Golden Wind. So it's similar to Josuke, and then we'll talk more about the boss's stand, which is similar to Dio and the world. And I don't know, I guess at this point Araki was getting less creative, but at the same time, the shit that happens here, like people cutting each other's arms off, the character designs of the hairdos. The one dude, I think his name is Pesce. He looks like a pineapple. He's just got this crazy ass design. But I do like the backstory of all the characters. Giorno, being the bastard son of Dio, was not necessarily abandoned, but he had this asshole stepfather. And you see him, there's a flashback of him out in the streets, and he is taken in by this other mafioso boss because Giorno, like, helps him escape the other mob people. So he's looking after him. Anytime Giorno's in trouble, the mafioso guy is protecting him. So that thing was pretty cool. With Bucciarati, you learn that his father was involved in, you know, drugs, and a bunch of people came back to kill his father. And so Bucciarati has a hatred to the mob world, and particularly drug trafficking. And the reason why he wants to ascend the ranks is to put a stop to it so that other people don't suffer broken homes and broken families because of drug trade and drug abuse and things like that. Abbacchio was a former police officer who saw his partner die in the line of duty. So a lot of tragic characters here. Lots of cool battles. The only guy who doesn't really do much is Fugo. And he actually leaves. He leaves the group. He's like, fuck this shit. I'm not going up against the boss. So, because I guess his stand is kind of overpowered because it's purple haze, Jimi Hendrix song, Purple Haze, you know, and it's this poison cloud of you know, death and despair. The miasma, I guess. But so he leaves the group, maybe because he's too OP. Narancha, little bomber. He's got this helicopter that just goes around shooting shit. He was pretty cool. And there's this great battle of him where he's fighting this other guy who uses his stand to shrink. And he's battling these rats. Like, he's riding on the back of a rat. And then he's caught in this bottle against this tarantula, which looks giant compared to him because he's shrunk. So it's kind of all over the place. They also get this turtle. Which the turtle is more important in the second half. But with the turtle, they get this key, and they can shrink and go inside the key, and no one will suspect they're hiding in a fucking turtle. So they use that a few times to avoid the bad guys. But yeah, lots of cool shit. I'm trying to refrain about talking about certain things because there's other characters that get introduced in the next Blu-ray, and then also the big villain. Which they do reveal in episode 20. His stand is King Crimson, and his voice, I'm King Crimson, which I'll just say, his voice actor is Kellen Goff, who voiced Zagred in Black Clover, and he also had a similar voice, and is just very deep and menacing, so it was cool. And King Crimson has essentially the same powers as the world! Dio is the world to stop time, except he can accelerate time. It's really fucking confusing. Like a lot of the things that happen here, it's cool to watch, and it's like, whoa, that shit's crazy. But it's really confusing and kind of difficult to even talk about. So at this point, let's just go to the screenshots, and hopefully I can better explain myself there. But I do have some crazy shit, man. So here's like the main cast, if you can see all that. Right. Very first episode. So that's one of the things too. They show Koichi and Jotaro, and in other parts we saw, like in part 3, Joseph, who returned from part 2 to part 3, became the mentor for Jotaro, and then in part 4, Jotaro became the mentor for Josuke, and then we see Jotaro and Koichi in part 5 here. But they just sort of fizzle out within the first 3 episodes. Although we do get another returning character in the next Blu-ray, which was a great surprise. It would have been cool if Josuke was the mentor, but it doesn't necessarily make sense for story purposes, so I understand leaving him out. And maybe it's better off just because part 4 is so great. Why even expand on Josuke? So this is young Giorno. He didn't have the blonde hair there. And how long does it take him to iron his hair? And like, what does he put in there to make his hair look like that? Oh man, and Bruno Bucciarati, his first appearance, so good. I'll warn you about the GIF I'm going to show you. But we do get the scene of Jotaro looking at the mirror, like, good times, man. Like, the nostalgia. I love it. So Bucciarati encounters him on the train, right? And he starts questioning Giorno about an associate of his, leaky-eyed Luca. And Giorno's all nervous, not answering, and he starts sweating. And Bucciarati gets really close to him and fucking licks him. And he goes, the tang of a liar! I caught you, Giorno Giovanno! So I'll show you the GIF. I'm warning you, it's disturbing, but it's so JoJo's. So he starts sweating, and he licks the sweat, and then he licks his lips. He goes, the tang of a liar. And just his hairdo. What the fuck is going on, man? So he fights Bucciarati in the train, and you get the pose with Golden Wind, and Bucciarati stand the Zipper Man, or Sticky Fingers, where he can just dismember his own body with zippers and other parts of the train. Really cool and really strategic, creative battles. Lots of good stuff. So they're fighting. You get the backstory of Giorno. and that whole thing. And then we encounter Popo, who's like the big mafioso guy, who gives Giorno the first job. And yeah, the arrow, I mentioned the arrow a lot in part 4, but the arrow is here. And again, I can't really talk about the arrow until the next review, because that's when it becomes more relevant. But it can either, well, it gives you, if you don't have stand powers, it gives you stand abilities, but it can also enhance your stand, right? So he passes the test, and then he turns. Popo is eating a banana, and with Golden Wind turns the banana into a pistol, so Popo kills himself. And then this is the scene where Koichi and Jotaro acknowledge that he's the honorary JoJo. So, but he looks nothing like these people. But yeah, that's why I call him the honorary JoJo. And then he meets the whole gang here. Oh yeah, Abacchio's, his stand was pretty cool. He can basically rewind time himself and like rewatch what happened in a certain area. So you got like Monster of the Week stuff where they're going up against, you know, other stand users. This is where you get the backstory about Abacchio being a police officer, and his partner had died in the line of duty, so that's what he decided to do. Here's 6 bullets. I love these dudes. Like I said, Mista has a revolver, and when he fires it, the 6 bullets stand are on it, and they're like, "Oh, we got you, Mista, let's go!" And they have such a high-pitched voice. They're pretty cool. This is a dance they were doing, like, just the wacky shit that happens in JoJo's. You gotta love it, man. Even for this part, which isn't my favorite, it's still entertaining and still worth watching. And the boy, especially look at Mista's outfit, too. What the hell is he wearing? Oh, I can't get over it. So here's 6 bullets. Yeah, he doesn't have number 4, which I forget why the hell the reason was that he didn't have number 4, but he has 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, and 7. I guess 7's a lucky number to some people, right? And then they get the turtle, and they meet Trish, who, you know, we've had other female characters before, but she's part of the main group. I guess Lisa was part of the main group in part 2. But there was no, well, there was villainous female stand users in part 3, and then Raimi and Yukiko, they were more side characters. So Trish is more of a main character, and then she does awaken to stand abilities in the next Blu-ray. And I guess she's there for like the fan servicey stuff, because she's running around in her skimpy outfit. But I didn't honestly find Trish too attractive. I'll take Lisa or Raimi over her. But she's there, I guess. Oh, I went too fast. And this is a good shot, if it'll load, of the main group. And they have the turtle. Coco, I think the turtle's name was. So, yeah, here's, this guy's name was Pesce. He looks like a fucking pineapple. And they're scheming as to how they can take him out, working for the boss. It's interesting how, you know, the boss wants Bucciarati's group to deliver Trish to him so he can kill Trish, and then he also has his other underlings out to kill Bucciarati's group. So what the hell's going on? And this guy shrinks Narancha, and they're riding mice. There's a little bomber. Oh, so much crazy shit going on. You get the classic JoJo poses, and here he is shrunk in the bottle fighting the tarantula. So, lots of good stuff. Yeah, this guy's power, he can age everybody. And then Pineapple Head here has like this fishing rod that can go through walls. And they're hiding inside the fucking turtle. And apparently it was ice that could stop them from aging. So, this is Zipperman in action, throwing him out there, but of course he doesn't die right away, and he comes back. And lots of cool shit, man. Lots of cool shit. He's got the fucking fishing rod. Let me see if I can figure out his stand name again, because it's down there somewhere. So, Bucciarati, all cut into pieces. And Giorno saves the day. This is the cool scene with Mista. Like, bullets to his face. So, and yeah, what happens is they deliver Trish to the boss, and he cuts Trish's arm off, and then it ends with King Crimson seemingly killing Bucciarati. And just, I'm King Crimson! Just his voice was so good, and it's like, that's how it ends. So yeah, it's good. I like the second half more, though, I think, because the crazy shit that happens and more of the characters that are introduced. I just want to remember the guy's name. Hold on. Oh, he had the Grateful Dead and Beach Boy. Yeah. So yeah, it's good stuff. Let me know what you guys thought in the comments down below. And stay tuned next week for my review of episodes 21 to 39, the second half of part 5. So thanks, guys. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you later. Peace out.